Tonight, we begin with what is easily America's heaviest aerial damage reported in its modern military history. A stunning report unveils the massive damage that the United States has suffered in its war against Iran. According to a report by the non-partisan U.S. Congressional Research Service, or the CRS, beg your pardon, at least 42 American aircraft were either destroyed or they were damaged during Operation Epic Fury. Now, these numbers are extraordinary, because they reveal not just what America suffered, but the details of the damaged aircraft paint a difficult picture for the American military. Here's what the losses include. 4 F-15E Strike Eagle fighter jets. Remember, 3 F-15Es were destroyed by friendly fire over Kuwait. This happened within the initial days of the war. The 4th F-15E was destroyed inside Iran, where both aircrew ejected separately, leading to an intense search and rescue operation as well, involving hundreds of troops and fighter jets. 1 A-10 Thunderbolt II ground attack aircraft. This was damaged during the search and rescue operation to recover a U.S. airman who was stuck in Iran. 2 MC-130J Commando II. Now, these were intentionally destroyed by American forces on the ground in Iran during a rescue operation after they were unable to depart. Next up is 1 HH-60W Jolly Green II helicopter. Sustained damage from small arms fire inside Iran. Then there was 1 F-35A Lightning II stealth fighter jet, which was damaged by Iranian ground fire, making it the first case of the unkillable F-35 stealth jet that was being locked and hit. 24 MQ-9 Reaper drones. They have been lost since the start of the war against Iran. Then you've got 7 KC-135 Stratotanker aerial refueling aircraft. 2 of them were damaged in friendly airspace, while 5 were damaged while on the ground at the Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, which is, remember, a critical American military hub. 1 E-3 Sentry AWACS, or the Airborne Early Warning and Control System aircraft, was damaged while being parked on an unprotected taxiway at a critical U.S. military hub in Saudi Arabia. Then you've got 1 MQ-4C Triton high-altitude long-endurance drone, which crashed to the ground. Now, these were the basic numbers and types, but to understand the scale of this, let me give you the context. The F-35A, for instance, is America's premier 5th-generation stealth fighter. Losing even one in combat is strategically and politically significant. The aircraft costs roughly $80 to $100 million, depending on configuration and support package. The E-3 Sentry AWACS, for instance, is another, even more critical aerial ammunition. It's essentially a flying command center coordinating air battles, tracking missile launches, and managing battlefield awareness. Now, these aircraft are rare and they're expensive, with replacement costs running into hundreds of millions of dollars. Then there are the drones. The report claims that the United States lost 24 MQ-9 Reaper drones. These are the workhorses of modern American surveillance and precision strike warfare. Each MQ-9 costs roughly between $16 and $30 million, depending on equipment. Now, if you combine these two, the estimated losses and repair costs reportedly push the overall financial burden of the operation close to $29 billion. And mind you, not just militarily, America has struggled through financial burden as well. On the 12th of May, remember, during a hearing of the House Appropriations Subcommittee, Acting Pentagon Comptroller Jules W. Hurst III testified that the department's cost estimate for military operations in Iran has increased to $29 billion US. But even after this, I say the point is not just how many aircraft were lost. The real question is, what does this reveal about Iran's air defense capabilities? Remember, for decades, the United States built its military doctrine around the assumption of air superiority. From Iraq in 1991 to Kosovo, Libya, Syria, and more recently Afghanistan, the U.S. Air Force has always operated with an overwhelming dominance of the skies. But this now seems to be changing. Multiple reports have suggested that Iran relied on a layered defense strategy. Mobile surface-to-air missile systems, radar networks, drone swarms, electronic warfare, and manpads or short-range shoulder-fired missiles. If you remember, on the 3rd of April, an American F-15E Strike Eagle was reportedly shot down over Iran. The crew ejected, leading to the massive search and rescue operation by American forces deep inside Iranian territory, and days and many difficulties later, the two pilots were rescued. Now, this entire incident points to something deeper. This war is exposing vulnerabilities in American logistics. There are also growing questions about transparency. Several reports, remember, note that the CRS compiled information from the Pentagon statements, CENTCOM releases, media reportage, and battlefield assessments, but also warned that the numbers could still change due to classification restrictions, incomplete battle damage assessments, and the ongoing combat operations. And this matters because historically, wartime casualty and equipment loss figures are often revised months or years later. Governments sometimes underreport losses during active wars, something that the Trump administration has been accused of as well. But it leads us to the big question, staring down at the United States. Did Donald Trump overestimate America's military stance in Operation Epic Fury? A major shift may be unfolding inside the Western military alliance as Washington signals plans to reduce the number of American forces available to NATO during future crises. Alarm bells are now ringing across Europe's defense establishment. Remember, for decades, Europe relied on American military muscle. Now, the continent is being forced to rethink its own battlefield readiness. Take a look.
Behind closed doors, the questions are growing sharper. How many American troops could leave Europe? How quickly could NATO respond during a future crisis? And is Europe prepared if Washington scales back military commitments further? The US is reportedly preparing plans to shrink the forces it would place under NATO command during emergencies and major military confrontations. The US is pulling out 5,000 troops from Germany. This came after a spat between President Donald Trump and Chancellor Friedrich Merz over the war in Iran.
What we're basically saying is, as the European pillar of the alliance gets stronger, this allows the U.S. to reduce its presence in Europe and limit itself to providing only those critical capabilities that allies cannot yet provide. And so we should expect there to be a redeployment of U.S. forces over time as allies build their capacity.
Poland is also alarmed by reports that Pentagon has cancelled plans to deploy 4,000 US troops in the country. US tried to reassure Poles that this is not the case. The proposal has left European allies on tenterhooks. For decades, American troops form the backbone of NATO's rapid military response capability across Europe. US soldiers, air power, logistics, networks and missile defense systems have long served as the alliance's most powerful conventional deterrent. Now uncertainty is spreading through European capitals. The US currently has around 76,000 troops across NATO territory, the largest volume since the Cold War. European governments are now accelerating defense spending, expanding weapons production, and strengthening regional military coordination. NATO's top leaders are insisting that any future US troops withdrawal would not undermine Europe's collective defense structure.
NATO is and will always be a transatlantic alliance. Part of keeping this alliance strong involves shifting responsibilities, moving away from unhealthy over-reliance on one ally to a fairer sharing of the responsibility for our collective security.
Despite the public statements about transatlantic unity, Europe is uneasy about Washington's broader strategic intentions. Increasingly, NATO allies are realizing they can no longer depend on the US for their security and will have to shoulder far greater responsibility themselves. But do they have the men, the machines and the money to do so? Bureau Report, WION World is One.
All right, shifting our focus now, Cristiano Ronaldo is all set to feature in a record 6th FIFA World Cup. The 41-year-old will lead Portugal's 27-man squad that features several big names and includes an honorary tribute to the late Diogo Jota as well. Now, Ronaldo is the all-time leading men's international goal scorer with 143 goals, and he holds the record for the most international appearances as well. The 5-time Ballon d'Or winner has in fact lifted almost every major trophy in football. But the FIFA World Cup remains missing from his collection, and this could be, well, his final attempt to lift it. This will also be Ronaldo's first World Cup since leaving the European club football. The Portuguese star, who now plays for Al Nassr in the Saudi Pro League, has enjoyed another strong season, scoring 28 goals in 36 matches so far. Ronaldo, remember, is also just one win away from claiming his first major trophy since moving to Saudi Arabia. A boost that could prove vital for both Portugal as well as their captain, after the side was stunned in the quarterfinals at the last World Cup in Qatar.
When we talk about Cristiano Ronaldo, there are two players. The icon of world football, about who all fans around the world have an opinion and acknowledge what he brings to football. And then the player, our captain. Our captain is held to the same standards as the other players. He has the competitiveness needed to be in the national team, and for me, the captain is exemplary. He was very important in winning the Nations League. And now we want to continue with the same level of responsibility and example inside the dressing room.
Ronaldo features alongside Manchester City trio of Ruben Dias, Bernardo Silva and Matheus Nunes. Manchester United captain Bruno Fernandes and Paris Saint-Germain troika of Vinicius, João Neves and Nuno Mendes. Portugal head coach Roberto Martinez has also named 4 goalkeepers in the squad.